So the battery door saga continues. As you know, I've now made the entrance to this battery at the front. But what I want to do, and I've cut this out, and I've cut this this out. And the original plan was maybe to have two hinges on there, so this would hinge, nice and easy to get it out. And then what we would do is we would sort of batten out the back here. So these are a bit big, but just to give you an idea, we'd stick some wood in the back here, and then that would give a seal, not only a seal, but something for this to clamp up against. There's two problems with that. The first is when this closes, if we've got this flush to here, there's no real way to put a seal in here. You'll see there's not really any room. Really, you need this to be back a little bit so you've got room for a seal, and that complicates matters. So the other idea I had was doing something like this. Let's just get this the right way around. So instead of having the stop thing on the back, and the other thing this does is makes this a little bit thinner, so it's going to make it tighter to get the battery box in. So what I could do is stick a piece of wood over the top like this. Unfortunately, these are bang on the wrong size piece of wood, but there we go. You get the idea. And then that would click in like that, and my seal would then be around here. And then all we need to then do, this is quite thick wood then as well, is drill some or epoxy some little, I don't know, just small fairleads to probably do the job, and then get some string, and that would tighten this up and create the seal, but the seal would be here. So I think I'm going to do that, and then all we'd need to do is undo the pieces of string, and this would just come off. I'm having one of those days where I'm putting things down and I can't find them. And at the moment, I cannot find my manual little clicky screwdriver for the life of me. So, yeah, there we go. So, unfortunately, I've got the big boy. Bit overkill for the job. But we're going to use this to get these out. Now, these are epoxied in, and I'm just going to have to see if we can... Oh, okay. that was easy enough. That was fairly easy. We're just going to have to sand that, fill those little holes. And then these screws, because they're, we had to cut them off, I could probably just make them a little bit smaller, and then we'll just have to cut some pilot holes before we put them back in. So I'm going to also maybe take, I don't think I need two in the front here. I don't know why I've got two, to be honest with you. Just a bit of belt and braces going on there. So I think I'm just going to replace it with one. Yeah, these are just coming off, yeah. So if we look at the front of the battery, I think we just have one there. At the moment I've got one there and one there. It's just restricting the space. I think that'll be more than enough. And then at the back we'll just keep the same one along flat there, and that little rubber thing just needs to, I find that's really good, that rubber thing. It makes it quite tight. Can we have this? I think it was because I can't have it sideways, but I just think I have it like that. It'll be fine like that. So I've kind of got this worst case scenario with the wires back there, and I think we can shift this back to there. And what I'm going to do is just measure that. I'm just going to mark one hole. It's not long enough. Just going to try and measure one hole in there. Let's have a look what we've got. Okay, I've got a really long screwdriver. Will probably be the best way of doing this. And then we can drill that out and put this back in. So these screws I'm using are 4-sized, and I've got a 3mm or 3.2mm drill. I'm sure it was there. It's there, yeah. What I don't want to do is go through. There's one. We can get this one in as well. There we go. Right, and then we cross our fingers and we hope this fits. So if we go in there. There you go. Awesome. That's a really good fit actually. It's better than it was before. You've got to be able to see how many lights are on the side, and if you can just make that out, it tells you how full the battery is. So, you know, when you consider you've got this here, but I can actually, through the varnish, if you look, I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lights. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I am able to see that. But if not, I could put a little bit of reflective material on there, so I can, or a little mini mirror or something, so I could see how well my battery's charged. So I got a piece of the same 9mm plywood, and the first thing I need to do is just make sure I've got enough of a seal around the box now. And then just, I don't trust set squares. I'm just going to double check. That distance there is 18.5. That distance there is 18.5. So we need to cut this piece of wood out, this whole piece of wood, and then that will be stuck to the outside of the box. We should be able to stick it. We just have to get some 404 filler because of the uneven surface, and then that will give us a sort of place we can put a gasket. There we go, that's that piece cut out. So one side I've really sort of curved off the edges, so that'll make it easier for a bit of fiberglass to adhere to it. And that's going to be on the outside edge of the battery box. Let's go and get the battery box. Let's get the battery box up. So there's the battery box. This was the door that came out like that. This is going to be stuck on like this. So you'll see, if you turn it over, it's going to have that little edge all the way round. It's going to be that way round actually, yeah. And then that will click into there when we're not in use, and then underneath here we're going to put a little silicone gasket. So loads to do. Just mix the minimum I can kind of get out the West System pump. So it's one pump of 105 epoxy and one pump of the 205 hardener. Still cold here, so I haven't got the heaters on. For those of you that may be interested, I've had the garage heated up for about well, I'd say 3 weeks in total, and it's probably been a bit hotter in there than I'd like. It's been about 18 to 19 degrees, and last year it cost me roughly, it's hard to tell, but roughly about 30 to 40 pounds, and that was actually for longer, just to keep the garage warm, so I could get Mocking D painted, varnished and epoxied. This year, for 3 weeks at that temperature, it's cost me nearly £150. So, yeah, a little bit of a shock there. And, yeah, to put it bluntly, I'm in the doghouse a little bit, although I'm obviously going to have to pay for that myself. But, yeah, just it's frightening, isn't it? How energy has skyrocketed at the moment. But anyway, there we go. The first thing I'm going to do is actually get my big knife and cut one of these off square. So there's a standing knife just there. Just do it on here, be fine. There we go. And that's so I can just do the edges nicely after we've filled them. But the first thing I'm going to do is just dress this piece of wood. So let's get a brush. There we go. Try and do that without kind of touching it. So just going to leave that to sort of tack up a bit. I'm not going to leave it too long because I'm hoping to use this for the glue. So, oh gosh, I've got so many tools and whatnot in the way here. So we're going to leave that just to tack, and then hopefully we can use this glue to get, with a bit of 404 filler, and then we can stick that on the top there. I just realised I've got these raw edges as well, so the epoxy is definitely going off in the cup here, but I just realised I've got these raw edges to just seal as well. So not want to waste the epoxy. This is the screw. I need to now get this screwed in here. This was the old screw. This is the new screw going in. A lovely stainless steel one with a posi drive, and I may as well use this epoxy to just seal the screw. So all I'm going to do is just dress that screw there a little bit with some epoxy. Oh, that's going off already actually. At a later date, than have things not secure or the wood rotting away underneath here. So there we go. Right, while we're waiting for that epoxy to cure on the battery box, I'm just checking the epoxy on here, and these little holes are filled now, so we may as well get this masthead back on. And you can see just how not straight that was. Right, I've got my little hammer, and we're just going to have to give this a little bit of coercion. I know I'm probably supposed to use a little wooden block, but I'm not tapping it hard enough really for that to be a problem. Get it nice and low down. There we go, so that's fitted on. So the next job is to drill some holes into there and to sink the screws in. And I've got brand new stainless steel screws for those as well. I'm just going to wrap a little bit of, don't know if you can see this, a little bit of tape around my drill about there. Don't want to go all the way in, just as a depth gauge so I know how deep to drill. Right, I'm going to do this one first. And we're going to try and... It's quite awkward working in here. I'd love a... I was actually looking for a little bit of workshop space, but you know, the cost of it was just crazy, you know. To the point, it would be cheaper to sort of buy a place like in Northern Wales and just pay the mortgage on it. But obviously I can't afford to do that as well. I don't really want another mortgage. But yeah, it is sort of, yeah, I don't understand why rental on places is so expensive. I'm just going to wipe that a little before we screw it up, because I put a little bit too much on there. Just a little bit of stupid knowledge about me. I'm kind of semi-ambidextrous. I do weird things with my left hand. I'm predominantly right-handed, but I do a lot of stuff with my left hand, so I don't find it immensely difficult using my left hand for things like, you know, screwing stuff in. Having played rugby to a level, I can kick with both feet pretty much without thinking, so maybe it comes from that a little bit. I didn't find out, I think when I was younger, I started playing tennis or squash, sorry, not tennis, squash, left-handed, weirdly. But I write with my right hand, and I'm predominantly right-handed, but I just seem to cope okay with my left hand. Anyway, there we go. There we go. New screws in. One mast. Done. Right, we've mixed up some more epoxy. This is now tacky, this little door. So it's ready to be glued. And it's been about an hour, I'd say. I went and had a bit of an early lunch. And but before we get onto that, I've mixed a little bit extra epoxy. I'm going to give just these little. I've just chiselled off these flush. I'm hoping this brush has just got enough in it to give me a bit of that. And I'm just going to epoxy over these where the old brackets were. What I'm going to do is mix up some 404. So I've got two pumps in there. And I want this to be quite firm. So I am going to put in one. I'm going to put in 2 scoops. I might need a bit more, actually, but we'll put 2 scoops of the 404 in. Sorry, when I say 404, if anyone's a bit confused, it's this. 404, West Systems, high density filler. It's brilliant, this stuff. And then just got to be a little bit careful. I don't want this to go all over the place. It looks like it's never going to mix in, and then suddenly it'll mix in. It's a bit like baking a cake, folding in the flour. There you go, and it's sort of, there we are. That's actually exactly how I wanted it, nice and thick. Because it's gluing, you know, I want this to glue and stick everything together. Yeah, that's beautiful. Right, I'm hoping I've got enough, to be frank. So, first things first, we need to know that's the top edge. So it's going to go like that. Oh, no, it's not. It's going to go like that way round. There we go. So, I know, let's just bring this into the foreground here. We need to glue on top of that. I've prepared everything, by the way. Everything's been acetoned. And what I'm going to do, I don't want too much. So I don't want to be having this squeezed out everywhere. But at the same time, I need to have a decent amount. You know, because of fiberglass, it's not an even surface there. So, you know, we don't want to We can't just use epoxy on its own. We've got to have a little bit of filler in it. Yeah, this is perfect, this filler. And I'm not going to put it to the edges either, because I'm hoping when we squeeze it down, that will sort the edges out. And you can see that I've actually gone over the edge a bit too much already. Up to in one place there. Right, okay. So I think that's more than enough. So let's flip this over. And I've still got the little pencil lines on there. And then just going to squeeze that till we just start to see it squeezing out. I've got that square spatula. Let's bring the camera down to now just scrape these so they're nice. You know, normally you'd have like a little fillet edge along here, but I can't have that because I want to have this as my sort of gasket seal. So it's got to be nice and square. There we go. There we go. That's it. And that's bang on. That's exactly what I wanted. Regretfully, you always get a little bit of wastage, but you know, it's not too bad actually. I'm just gonna scrape that clean because I could probably use that edge again. Oh, so I'm just having a look at the box. The lid is looking good. Just a couple of little bits on the corners need probably filling again, but it's looking really good, really solid, lovely. Obviously can't do the underside because it was sitting on that, but we need to epoxy all over this now, and then it might need, we might put some, I don't think we will put any fiberglass on this. I don't see why we need to. What I'd like to do is put a little handle on here so I can just, you know, get it off, because I won't be able to hook my thumb over there. So it just needs a little handle, just maybe at the top, to prise it out. This needs another coat. It's amazing how these sawn edges just suck the epoxy up. So that needs another coat. So we'll do that in a minute. But I was actually exploring ways of getting a seal on the door. So at the moment you know that I'm going to try and put a little silicone gasket around there. That will waterproof this right up to the top. There will be a little gap at the top here, but there's not much I can do about that. This is my bungee cord that I've used to replace my boat cover elastic that was sort of going off, and I thought, well, I could just literally have a loop of this going round. We tie it off at the required elasticity or tightness, and then, you know, all we need to then do is open the box, slide this down a little, and open the door that way. Now I like this because it's really simple. There's no work needed to put this on, and you know, we could, if one's not enough, we could just use two to lock the door, or even three if we need to. And then we're just going to do a nice thick layer over here. Someone actually asked me if I'm going to varnish over the box, and the idea is no, because I don't think the box is going to really get to see much daylight. Even if I've got the transom door open, you know, I might even sail with it open. But I think even with that open, it's not really ever going to get much direct sunlight. If it does, I just have to close the transom door. You know, it's not a big deal, that. So really, you should have the transom door closed when you're sailing anyway. So there we go. Bit more epoxying. Let's leave that to dry.